Hey everybody, welcome back. What we're going to do today is we're going to help you figure out what are the 4 questions you need to ask for good marketing. 4 questions for any kind of marketing you're going to do for your small business. My name is Brian Gorman. I'm a small business profit growth strategist. I help small businesses figure out how to gain profit in order to give them the kind of freedom and hope that they're looking for in their business. And so to do that, we need to look at these 4 questions anytime you go to put out any type of marketing campaign. And ultimately, what we're looking at with a marketing campaign is really defining your USP, your unique selling proposition, right? This is the compelling offer that you create for your people that nobody else has. The other day, driving down the road, and I see this window company, and on the window advertising they have right outside, big banner, it says quality windows at a fair price. Pretty sure that's just the job of a company, right? That's not a unique selling proposition. That's the thing that everybody should at least say, right? No one is going to sit there and say, low quality, little overpriced, right? Nobody's putting that out. So to be able to say you make a decent product at a decent price is not a unique selling proposition. It's not how you want to market your small business. One of the challenges that many small businesses have when they go to do their marketing is they're asking the question from the wrong perspective. Oftentimes, it gets asked as though, what's the unique thing that I do, that we do, the oddity of our organization? And then they build their marketing around that, and it's extremely ineffective. Let me show you an example. Let me show you an example of how ineffective marketing from the wrong perspective can be. Oftentimes, when I'm coaching churches and not for profits, I will ask a church, what is it that makes you unique? What is the difference maker for your organization? And over again, many of the churches are going to reply with something like, our preaching, or we love the Bible. Preaching and Bible. Now, here's the problem with that is, if you're a church, hopefully you at least like the preaching of the church you're at. Hopefully. And hopefully you would argue that your church values the Bible. But every church values the Bible differently. And the major problem with it is those two issues may not be difference makers for the people they want to reach with their preaching and the Bible. So when you ask it from the wrong perspective, you're going to get the wrong answer. This is why it is important to ask the right questions from the right perspective. It is important to ask the right questions from the right perspective. And there are 4 questions we can ask to improve our marketing immediately. Before any piece of content you put out, you need to be asking yourself these 4 questions. First question is this: what would it take to get your attention? What would it take to get your attention? If you were looking at this ad campaign, what would catch your attention? If you wouldn't be interested in it, there's no way your target audience would be interested in it. So to be able to stop and say, if I were a potential purchaser of my product, what would make me stop the scroll? What would make me listen for just a second or two? What would make me curious about what's going on? We've talked before about the conversion equation. What would interrupt me enough to make me engage? And then go through the other components. What is going to get your attention? Because if it wouldn't get your attention, it won't get their attention. Ask it as though you were your ideal client. Second question. The second question we need to be asking when putting together any of our marketing is, what needs does your ideal client have that need to be met? What are the needs of your ideal client that need to be met? And when you think about the needs of your ideal client that need to be met, oftentimes, again, people become internal here. They start thinking about the things they would like the client to want. They would want a client who desires more education because they want to teach more about their product. But most clients don't want more education, right? They want the client who's willing to pay more. But most clients don't want to pay more. This is why you sell value, not price. We'll get to that on another day. But ultimately, and I'm going to cover this much more in depth in a later video, but ultimately what you're dealing with are three primary concerns of your clients, and that is going to be value, speed or convenience, and service. Value, convenience, and service are the three things that people are more concerned with than about anything else. And so when you ask yourself, how does this marketing meet one of those three needs? Value, convenience, service. Again, in an upcoming video, I'm going to cover those three much more in depth. But that's the need that has to be met. That's the second question that has to be asked. What are the needs that we can meet? Third question. Third question is this. What are the promises that your client wants fulfilled? When I talk to businesses, I oftentimes talk to them about developing a market-dominating position, something that sets them apart from everybody else. And to have a market-dominating position, this is not having a unique statement, a good catchphrase, a nice logo. It is what promises you're capable of fulfilling. And your marketing should always go back to the promise you can fulfill. If you're willing to return a call within 24 hours, and that's unique to you, make that the unique thing. If your product is just cheaper than everybody else's, make that the unique thing. If your product is higher quality, then figure out how it's higher quality. What is it that makes it unique? And make that the promise that is fulfilled. But your marketing needs to tell your ideal client what is the promise that you fulfill. Let's deal with the fourth and final question, and that is, what sets me apart from my competition? What is the unique selling proposition of my competition, and why would my ideal client buy from me and not them? And it can't be that, well, I just don't like the owner. You have to look at their marketing. What are they promoting? What are they promising? What is the way they're getting people's attention? And you need to make sure that yours is different than theirs. It can be similar, but it has to be enough different that people would really buy into that. Once you have answered those four questions, what do you need to get the attention? If you were the ideal client, what do you need to get that attention? What needs need to be met? What are the promises that need to be fulfilled? And what is the competition doing that you're doing something different than? Once you have identified the answers to those questions, now you're ready to begin developing a plan to meet those needs and to market that information out to your people. But you can't create any marketing plans until you've answered these four questions. Answer them first. Answer them often. Always go back and make sure they're accurate. And when you do, all of a sudden now you provide something that no one else does. One of the things I like to do is show you how the God of the Bible actually wired us to function this way. See, the God of the Bible does the same thing. He is addressing these issues, right? What would it take to get your attention? Well, every other God either stays at a distance or just passes commands down. But the God of the Bible actually joins his people in their pain. That he cries when they cry. He laughs when there is joy. Like he is excited with them and sad with them at the same time. He has these deep emotional connections to his people the same way we do. It makes him unique in that. He gets our attention by sending Jesus in the flesh, right? What needs do we have to be met? Well, it's all over the place. We have the need to feel like we're forgiven. We have the need to feel safe. We have the need for community. We have the need to connect with our God. We have the need to know that the brokenness of the world is not going to be like that forever. We have the need of recognizing that one day that he will destroy him who holds the power of death. We have the need for grace and gifts and goodness in our life. We have the need for peace and shalom and wholeness in our life. He meets those needs. What are the promises that he fulfills? His promise to never leave us or forsake us. His promise to one day make all things right. His promise that this world and the brokenness that we are experiencing is not going to be the world forever. He gives us these promises and fulfills them. Sometimes in our lives and sometimes in all the course of all eternity. But this is what he's doing. And what makes him unique, what makes him different than the competition, so to speak, ultimately comes down to, I would argue, most other religions do one of two things. It's either a God who sits at a distance, tells you what to do, sits back and says, hey, let me know when you get there. A God who is distant and disconnected in every way. Or religions fall to the other side that go the full gamut of just do whatever makes you happy. Whatever brings you satisfaction, whatever you feel like, go with that. Especially today, religions tend to fall into one of those two categories. But what God does is not like either one of those. What God does is say, here's how I designed the world, and here's what I'm asking you to do. These are the commands, these are the laws that would put the world back into order if you could do them. But when you don't do them, when you do whatever you want, I'm still here with you then too. Not a God who sits and just punishes, not a God who just ignores, but a God who joins in and says, I want you to know how it was built to function. And when you don't do it that way, I'm still here with you to work to try to make something healthier and more whole on the other side. That's the God of the Bible. You see, what the God of the Bible does is a unique proposition. We should learn from how he wired us to hear these four questions. What would get our attention? What needs need to be met? What promises need to be fulfilled? And what's the competition doing where I'm doing something different and better and healthier than them? All right, everybody. If you could use help with any of these, building this out for your company, reach out to me, gormancoaching.com, or just drop a note down in the comments. And if there's any other topics you'd like to ask about or would like me to discuss in the future, please drop them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.